Run VT, Errol.
Up above the streets and houses, rainbow climbing high. Everyone can see it smiling over the sky. Paint the whole world with a...
It's a rainbow, baby. Just like you, it drives me crazy.
From G, the fat B, remain Z.
Like you, it drives me
It's
crazy.
rainbow.
Baby, making it's a way of life. You practice and rehearse.
Then all that work is paying off, 'cause Scrooge is getting worse.
There we go. Trip down
Happy
memory lane.
memories.
Of being crouched in a little corner, sticking your arm through a piece of wood, was it?
It was, yeah. But they're lovely because there's some nice little bits there, to talk about. Lovely.
Yeah, plenty to go on about. So welcome everyone and welcome Ronnie. How are you?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you. And hello, everyone.
Now, I think Zippy's caught in the headlights. He doesn't like being on live television, so
No, he's gone very quiet behind me, but that's just for a short time. But we have I have a little Zippy that will chat away. He's going to stay there dead quiet, but he's there for decoration.
yeah, we'll zip him up if he misbehaves again.
Exactly.
So. Not that we want to traumatize anyone.
No.
So let's have a look. There's some questions coming already. This one's from
Oh,
Matt,
wow.
level 13-316. So yeah, asking about the outtake from the Royal Variety performance with Jim Davidson's "Fucking of 'em always" became a catchphrase for me and my friends.
Well. That's an interesting question. Thank you, Gareth. It's not Gareth. It's Pugwall, is it?
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, yeah. Well, that was basically. It's interesting. It said it was the Raw. Was it the Royal Variety? It was actually a little quit. It was a Jim Davison special show he was doing at Thames, and he loved Zippy, George, and Bungle. And he actually did. Years ago he did read a story, but he was quite nervous about doing it. Bless him. But he loved the characters. Anyway, so he invited Zippy, George, and Bungle on. And of course, in rehearsals for stuff, certain things were said. And that lovely, the hover mowers catchphrase, I love that he's used it. That was suddenly found. I mean, it wasn't supposed to be recorded. It was, a rehearsal. But obviously somebody in the VTR upstairs recorded it. And it wasn't my voice then. It was lovely Roy Skelton. And so, he did something like, oh, dear, something about hover mowers. But he used other words as well, which I'm glad it weren't put into this thing. And it was sort of, we thought, oh, well, that's just rehearsal. It's camera rehearsal. It's not going to do anything. And then once YouTube arrived, of course, suddenly it appeared on YouTube. But I think you have to really look hard to find it. I give the gentleman top marks for finding it, because it's not easy to find that one particularly. Anyway, that's the story about that. It was a Jim Davis.
Shows the level of his humor.
Yeah.
So yes, but before we begin, Ronnie's book link is there and it'll be in the chat, and then you can get that on Amazon. And there's
there it is.
So yes,
it's alive.
Well, I'll talk about that because I read it this week, and I think it would make a pretty good TV show for about 6 episodes. The whole thing. It's got a roller coaster of emotions, and
well, it is a bit, isn't it? Yeah.
A fascinating read indeed. Oh yes, the rave version. Yeah, I didn't know that
the rave
existed
version.
The book.
Well, sorry, I'm interrupting you all the time.
Oh no, you carry on.
No, well, the rave version was basically Rainbow had more or less, I think it'd come off air, and I think the Fremantle Media, who owned the brand, as it were, had suggested that we should do a sort of let's see, update the theme tune, and that's what happened actually. So in fact, you played that little clip. That was for the Top of the Pops. The girl that came on and did the song, and we actually played Top of the Pops, and that was the sort of rave version that we did. And that was a little film to go sort of with it. And we did actually play some sort of, I want to say clubs, but social places, and we did a sort of disco. I mean, literally, we had the Z for Zippy made a chain for him to wear, and George was all very camp with a feather boa and everything. But yeah, it went. I think it got up to about 13th in the Top of the Pops, which wasn't bad for a sort of
that's good
steady
going.
number.
Big songs from the 80s that haven't got that high.
I think it was quite, they jazz it up. You heard a little bit of it on the clip at the beginning. So I mean, it was quite fun to do. And we played student unions, and we, that was played along with that. So lots of students, were driving along and loving it. So
yeah. Because well, I went to. You said in the book that you did started at the school discos. Was it in Hammersmith?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the Hammersmith Palais. My goodness, no longer there now. But
there you go.
That was quite an event actually. I mean, you can imagine these were, 18 to 24-year-olds or something, all dressed up in their old school uniforms. There was the MC was like a headmaster, and it was a surprise event because it was I think it was a birthday event for the School Days Disco company people, and also we had Rainbow. There was a great big cake that came onto the stage. And I think, Jeffrey popped out of that, which was, big surprise for the people. And then the puppets were up on a sort of gantry above the stage there, but all beautifully lit. And we did lots of mad singing and stuff. And it was incredibly hot and crowded full of people. But it went an absolute, they loved it. And that made a tour then. Fremantle thought, this is quite good. And we did a tour we must have toured around nearly every university in the country doing their sort of student union gigs. So, and that was amazing. And we built a special little booth for Zippy and George to be in. And in those days, I voiced Zippy for that. And a friend of mine did George. And so the two of us would arrive with our backs to the audience and then turn around and everybody would go mad. And then they use their mobile phones and click, 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 and take pictures. I mean, it was extraordinary. I must admit, I hadn't really realised the the staying power of these characters at that time. I mean, I knew the program was successful because we did it for 20 years. It's fantastic. But the thought of after it finished, I thought, it was wonderful. Well, that would be that. Oh no, I mean, it just carried on. In fact, Zippy still appears now. He's been on The Last Leg. We did Children in Need a couple of times, last year as well, and the year before. It's, there you are. It's the good old nostalgia thing. People love what they saw when they were a kid, and it's still the same. I mean, puppets don't age. It's just the puppeteers, sadly. But there we go.
Yeah, that's nice. Well, I guess it was nearly 3 decades of Rainbow. So
absolutely, yeah.
So we've got a lot of people.
I've got the start date if people are interested in all that thing. I wrote it down. Rainbow, the first program started on the 16th of October 1972, and I started on Series 3 the 29th of October 1973, and I continued to the very end, sort of thing. So, and still doing him now, sort of stuff. Aha. Oh, wonderful. That is a very early video. My goodness. In fact, I think it was the first one we did. I can't remember. Or the first one that came out. My goodness, Jeffrey. Yes, there we are. Yeah. Oh, my. Yes. How lovely. You've got VHS of it. That's great. Oh, yes. And we did. I'm looking at the thing. There was things what we call the black theatre. And I think there were balloons or something in that one. And we used to do this funny little items for about 30 seconds. Yeah, it's there. That's right. And of course, there's the singers there singing away. Oh, how lovely. Gosh. Oh, I've lost your voice. I can't hear you, actually. Don't know why.
That's me. That's my fault again. Double
Don't
clicking.
worry. Horrible pause. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, is it me? Don't worry, don't worry.
But yeah, I was just trying to say, what was I saying? Who was here that could hear me?
I can
yeah, it's only we had 4 channels in the UK, and then only 2 of them showed children's programs, and then only that was 2 hours or so a day, wasn't it? So
that's right. Yeah, I mean, we're incredibly lucky. The program went out just as the nursery schools came home for lunch. So, you know, it went out about 12:10 or something the first time. And then luckily there was a repeat. They decided, I suppose they liked the program, I mean, the powers that be, and put it out about tea time. So about 4 o'clock or something like that. I can't remember exactly the time. So it was, you know, repeated. So it's fantastic. So we got, you know, 2 showings a day, more or less. I'm not at the very beginning, but as things progress.
Yeah, I seem to remember it being on twice a day. Let's have a look. We got some more questions. People saying hello.
Hello.
Like Ingram. What's a legend? And Zippy.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, Fran's just watched the appearance on The Word with Sean Ryder.
Right. Gosh. No, gosh, he's really found all the old clips. No, Sean Ryder, that was quite an occasion. I mean, everybody, I don't know if people remember The Word. It was like sort of pop show, lots of, you know, well, I mean, Sean Ryder was there, but there was loads of other groups as well. And it was incredibly packed studio full of kids dancing and their bands playing. And it was all a bit sort of chaotic. But somehow, you know, Zippy and George, and I think it was Jeffrey. You know, I've forgotten if Jeffrey was there or not. I'm sure the questionnaire will remember, or if he's just seen it, he'll know. But I'm sure it was Bungle, George, and Zippy anyway. I mean, I remember us being rather squashed, and I know Sean Ryder, he was a little bit naughty. He wanted to sort of pick up the puppet off our hands and stuff, but we were lucky. We held them on like firm grips. But no, I mean, it was just one of those things. These are all after the, you know, program sort of finished. We did quite a lot of sort of little guest appearances on stuff. So
that's it. But the Calderdale Top Cat. He used to watch Rainbow. I hope you're behaving, Zippy.
He is at the moment. He's being very, very good.
He is. I'm very surprised at him, but yes, he's under control. Savoy says, do you have any people that influenced you? Tim Blaney, who worked on Short Circuit, was always one of my favorite puppeteers.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, you can imagine. I started in my early days at the Little Angel Theatre, which is a puppet theatre in North London, in Islington. And I think the founder director was the one who employed me. Well, basically, I was his second apprentice. I was a 15-year-old, can you believe? And so I really admired this chap because he literally bought an old temperance hall next to St Mary's Church and set it up as the first London permanent, you know, place for puppet theatre. And it was the puppet theatre, only seating 80 people then. And old Collins musical seats, old exit lights from the old musical up the road. I mean, it was fairly, you know, it started in a very quiet way, but now it's over 60 years this theatre's been going, and it's, you know, it's got a fantastic reputation. And in fact, I'm going there in the autumn, in September to November, doing a puppet show there as one of the members of the company, which is really nice. I've never really left the theatre, but no, John Wright would be somebody that I'd admire, but obviously somebody like, you know, Jim Henson. I mean, who doesn't admire? You know, it's particularly for the puppets that we've done on television and film. I mean, he really, you know, did amazing work, and we were so lucky because of being invited to do stuff on his work when he came over here, which was wonderful. So and there's lots of other puppeteers who are perhaps not well known to the public, but, you know, I admire definitely, you know, it helped me over, you know, in the years. And so, yeah, there's, oh gosh, I mean, most of the people are friends of mine now, in my area, you know, so we all sort of get together every now and again, not very often, but we do our best to sort of meet up. Another program that was around at the same time as Rainbow was a program called Pipkins, and Nigel Plaskett is a great friend of mine, and we were childhood friends. It was just one of those things that we ended up both doing puppets, but and I'm meeting him for lunch, we're catching up, we haven't seen each other for a while, so you know, cool. Things like this, it's really nice. So yeah, I suppose John Wright and Jim Henson, and a lot of English and foreign puppeteers who I've met in the past who've influenced me, but they're the main ones. I hope that answers the question for the questionnaire.
Yes. More details in the book.
Oh yes, indeed. There is actually. There really is.
A lot of people. Yes, the Twangers episode. Everyone knows.
Of course. Isn't this
the
lovely?
X-rated one?
No, the Twangers episode. Now I'll give you that. That was actually we made that episode in 1976. So you know, it was a while ago, and basically what happened was it was before blooper programs and all that sort of thing were done, but the VTR people upstairs who record everything came to message us one day and said, look, you know, surely you know, we've seen some mistakes that you've done, and you know, the odd swear word or something that, you know, has come through the thing in rehearsals, you know, couldn't you not make a, you know, a sort of naughty Rainbow or something for our blooper tape, for the Christmas tape, for the, you know, in-house. Yes. The BBC did one, and also ITV, so we were all part of that. Anyway, our producer, which he's quite right at the time, said, look, of course we can do it. On a Thursday, we only record one program. There's usually a bit of time, and we can just follow on with this short, you know, little episode. And but no swearing, please. And please, if we're going to do it, you know, make it funny, but it's all got to be innuendo, you know. So it was all schoolboy humor. So, you know, Zippy would started off the thing saying, no, one skit, two skit, three skit, for all. And then George was, oh, I've only got a little one, or something like this. And Jeffrey was playing with his balls. Jane was playing with the knockers, which turned out to be wooden bricks, you know, that she was knocking with hammers. And that sort of thing. And it was only about 3 minutes. Now, another interesting fact that people forget about that particular episode, which of course, I don't know when it first went out to the public, as it were, because but it went on a late night Channel 4 program. I can't remember what it was, but literally, you know, when Channel 4 started, they had these late night sort of adult show. Anyway, the clip of it went out, and of course, oh wow, people thought it was hilarious, you know, that their favorite characters were being a little bit naughty, as it were. And the Twangers, of course, we actually used the Twangers in programs. I mean, it wasn't that, I mean, there's got this other connotation, but it was a shoebox and elastic band over it. And because we only have, then the Zippy has only got the one arm, occasionally it has two, but normally it's just the one. And we had to keep the box on the counter and twang with so they were called Twangers. I mean, yes, you know, I mean, you can laugh about it, but that was, and that, fun enough, the sort of, the naughty Rainbow, whatever you call it, was the was known as the Twanger episode or whatever, because it was, you know, and I think we did have our twangs. We sang a song at the end. Do you know, I haven't seen it for ages, to be honest. But the funny thing is, you know, once it got onto Channel 4, there was a bit of a break, and suddenly YouTube started. I can't remember when it did, and it was put on, you know, and it was got loads and loads of you know, people thought it was hilarious, and it wouldn't upset the very young kids who would watch it, because they wouldn't understand what it was all about. It's just like a normal Rainbow. I mean, we did it as much as we could, as you know, it was in the studio. Jeffrey was there, but it was very funny. Fremantle, who owned the brand, as I keep saying, they saw it was getting rather, and they thought, oh no, and they kept taking it off. This is when it was first on, and now they've given up the idea. They think, oh, you know, because somebody else would put it back on again, literally, almost immediately. So, but yeah, no, that I'm always asked about that particular episode. But it was fun. How we kept our faces. I mean, we were laughing so much. But it was brilliant, and I think Jeffrey did an amazing job. But just let you one last thing. The Rainbow Singers, in those days, it wasn't, you know, everybody remembers Jane, Rod and Freddie, of course.
Yes.
But in fact, it was Jane, Rod and Roger Walker, who was there. Freddie joined in about 1981 or something. I can't remember exactly. And so, and Roger was the singer for that. So, you know, it's funny how they always say, oh, yes, it was lovely. Jane, Rod and Freddie were funny in that. So, well, it was actually Jane, Rod and Roger. But anyway, there you go. That was the story of the Twanger episode. If you get my book, you can get the whole script printed in it.
Yes.
It was very funny. My author said, we're going to print it. We should put it in, you know, put the script, and everyone loves that that episode. And I said, oh, no, surely. It's daft. Anyway, it was funny enough. They've discovered it would already been published in the Sun newspaper at some stage. You know. Anyway, there you go. And so it's in the book if people want to read the actual lines. But
no, it's far too offensive.
It is, isn't it? Thank you.
For my crowd.
Absolutely.
A technical question.
Oh.
Always wanted a ventriloquist dummy. Have you ever done anything along those lines?
Do you know, I haven't. Being a sort of puppeteer, I'm not an event artist. No, I don't talk like this. But so it's all sort of, that's another art in a way. But so when I'm doing puppets, you know, I usually take, you know, if I'm doing a voice, you know, I'm hidden, or I've sort of put the puppet in front of my mouth so people don't see it too much or whatever. But you know, it's it's something I've never done. But there's some brilliant ventriloquists out there now. I mean, I actually admire it, you know, immensely. Ventriloquism. I mean, there's in fact, I went to a UK ventriloquist. It's difficult to say that with my teeth. No, convention last year, and it was the first one they, you know, had, and it was in Milton Keynes actually. Anyway, and that was great to see stuff, and they wanted Zippy there. I mean, I think it's wonderful, really. And I said at the beginning, I said, look, I'm here on, you know, I shouldn't really be here because I'm not a ventriloquist, but they loved just seeing the puppet, you know, chatting away and me going on about all the different things I've done in the past. So, but anyway, hopefully, I'm not anti ventriloquism at all. And it's a wonderful art, and I, you know, one day maybe I'll venture to try and do it, but I think it might be a bit too late for me now. But
it's a lot of practice. Now you've been on the Sooty show a few times over the decades, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that started because one of the early singers on Rainbow when I started was Matthew Corbett, who of course was Harry Corbett's son. And I can't remember the years. I'm hopeless at remembering the years now. But in the 70s, sadly, or late 70s, Harry had a rather massive heart attack when he was doing the Christmas season at the Mayfair Theatre. And Matthew took over because it's all in the family then. And he did the presenting and stuff like that. And they were a bit worried at Thames because Sooty had moved from the BBC to Thames Television, hence my sort of, you know, I knew all about it. Anyway, so, pardon me, Matthew asked me, because he decided to leave Rainbow and carry on the Sooty tradition with, you know, the family tradition. And so he said, look, we're doing a season in the summer, and I need a puppeteer to do Sweep and and all of them every now and again when he wants, you know, when he's going to do some acting or whatever with the puppets. So and that's what I did, and I did about 4 series, and so here we are. Here comes Young. There's Sooty for you, everybody. Yes, you're all
Hello,
waving.
Sooty.
I hope. Yes, you are.
What was that,
Oh,
Sooty?
lovely. Yes, you're going to whisper, Sooty. What? Oh, I see. Pardon? They're all adults. Well, I know, but they love you. No, it's fine. Look, there you are. Look in the camera. That's it. There you are. Oh, yes, there's your friend Zippy. Yes, all right, fine. Yeah, lovely. Yes, because Sooty appeared on Rainbow quite a few times too, which was nice. I originally, I mean, I loved doing was Sweep, so I can't not show you as somebody.
Sweep was always my favourite.
Yeah, he's the naughty one and the lovely
Sweep.
one. Come on, in you come, Sweep. You're going to do. He's going to do some talking to you. Here we go. Look into camera.
Yeah.
There you are. Oh, thank you. It's not anybody's birthday. It might be. It might be somebody watching.
Someone might be. Yeah, it's bound to be someone's birthday. So
yes.
happy
Anyway,
birthday.
happy birthday, Sweep says. There you go. And these ones are the All right. So that's a
Mm-mm.
Zippy. Yeah. It's not
That's a
moving
Zippy.
much. That Zippy. Off you go, sweet. Anyway, no. It was an absolute joy, and what was lovely was that at the end of the series, Harry gave me a set of Sooty and Sweet. So they're the ones that I
Oh, wow.
used on the box in the 70s. So they're showing their age a little bit now. But Richard Goodell now has taken over the Sooty brand, as it were, because Matthew
Right.
did it for, well, Harry did it for 25 years and Matthew did it for 25 years. And now Richard's doing it and doing it extremely well. We did last year again. Can you believe it was Sooty's 75th birthday? I mean, amazing, isn't it, these things?
Yeah.
And so we played the Nottingham Theatre Royal and we did a sort of This Is Your Life of Sooty. And I walked on and I did a bit of Zippy and we had George there as well. And we did, we did a song and we were interviewed as ourselves, Richard did a sort of thing. So what was it like working with Harry? Because sadly, not many people have around now that have worked with Harry. So it was quite nice. But and I've done a series with Richard as well. So it's, it's really nice. There you are. There's some Sooty and Sweep stories. There's more in the book.
There are a few more available from Amazon. No, this is what we're... I was going to say, which is it more difficult to do? A puppet like Sooty, Sweep, or Sue? Because Sooty's silent, Sweep's got no voice, but Sue has a voice. So then...
Yeah. Well, basically, there's a wonderful lady, an actress called Brenda Longman, who's done actually Sue's voice for 40 years now.
Whoa.
And she's a great friend and she's lovely. And so basically, I was used to miming to Roy Skelton's voice when I first joined, Rainbow. And so when Sue does the, and it also, there's no lip sync to do with the glove puppets, Sorry, this is Sooty and Sweep and Sue in the news.
Undressed.
I do apologize. Off. Anyway, and so you just move them very nicely, just gently to the rhythm of the voice sort of thing and keep them alive. And so, but there is a little bit of an art to doing lip sync to, with these ones, because it looks a bit bad if they're not lip syncing properly.
Let's have a look. A lot of questions from 40-year-old men here. See, Franz, who's from Wales. I remember seeing a panto in Cardiff in 88, 99, Zippy, George, and Jeffrey, but no Bungle.
Oh,
curly whirlies into the audience. Oh dear.
Oh dear. Well, so 88 to 89. Yes, I mean that would have been the time when I think you were allowed in pantos to throw sweets to the audience. I think nowadays, health and safety, you hit somebody on the head with it, and you can't do it. But no, I don't know why. I can't think why Bungle wasn't there. But I can tell you, the last person to play Bungle at the Thames days was a puppet. In fact, he was a puppeteer on George. He was a friend of mine. I mean, it's, and he did George for a while. And then Stanley Bates, who was the Bungle that when I joined, was the actor inside the skin. Sorry, everybody. Yes, he's an actor inside. Anyway, so I know it's shocking, isn't it? But anyway, he'd left to write the scripts, and he did a brilliant job as well. It's absolutely super, his scripts, Stanley's scripts. Anyway, Malcolm then went into Bungle and was Bungle for a while. But when Rainbow finished, and he played Bungle right to the end of the Thames days. And when Rainbow finished at Thames, Malcolm, who had been a trained actor anyway, got a job working on a panto with John Inman. And sadly, John Inman became ill and eventually died, which was really sad. I think a couple of years later, he'd done a couple of seasons with him. And Malcolm took over being the Dame. And that's what, and I think possibly, maybe in the 89, that time, he might well have been playing Dame in another theatre. So they wouldn't have had Bungle there. But what they used to do is they used to have a stage hand or somebody, which sometimes isn't terribly good, working the puppet, and Roy Skelton would record the dialogue. I know of Zippy and George because he played both of them, and then Jeffrey would play, I don't know, he'd probably be Buttons or something, I can't remember in the pantos. So it might well have been that Cardiff one. I mean, but that's the reason why probably there was no Bungle there. They did have the three, the three characters in some pantos. I think it just depended on whether, Malcolm was free to do Bungle or not. And I think if they did, it's difficult. You see, Bungle always, you had to have him live, you couldn't sort of pre-record him. I mean, I think there was a time when they did, and I think it was only once, pre-record Bungle, because I think they may have been, that John Inman might have been in a panto with the Rainbow team. And when John wasn't well, Malcolm took over, and then a poor thing, I mean, the stage manager or somebody got into the Bungle skin, and Malcolm at lunch hour or something recorded some Bungle dialogue, and Malcolm became the Dame. But he's been a Dame for years, and he's brilliant, absolutely marvelous. So anyway, there you are. That's the story of that. Interesting questions. Thank you, people.
Yes. Technical one from Andy about monitors under the desk to help you see.
Yes, indeed. Well, basically, I mean, right from the very start, there was always a monitor under the desk or under the table. And we used reverse scan monitors, which meant we could see when we moved the puppet along. Sorry, it's not Sooty in the new. I'm just going to do with this. I'm getting quite. I tell you what, Sooty or Sweet,
there we go.
From here.
Put his clothes back on.
Well, there you are. And so when we moved the puppets, we looked down and had the monitor at our feet, and we could see exactly what the puppets were doing. And when there was a two shot, we could leave enough room for the two puppets to be in, or if it was a single, we'd sort of fill the frame a bit and stuff like that. And also, if Jeffrey was, standing above, we could be looking up at Jeffrey, and the eye lines would be right and stuff like that. Because otherwise we'd never be able to see the puppets. The big Zippy would be over my forehead here, and under the table we couldn't. If we looked up, we'd look up into his costume rather than, or is in his body, which wouldn't be nice. So, but anyway, we do that now. In fact, it's everybody now uses monitors for telly because it's the only way to be able to see, to get it exactly right. So yeah, we definitely did. Sometimes we had two if there was about three of us under there because it was quite only little small ones. Nowadays they're all flat screen things. I mean, we put them on our lap. It's much HD. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but we had a little, literally a little telly, with all the, I'm going to say all the valves, but you know what I mean, all the bits. So it's quite a chunky thing. It usually was on a little trolley itself, so it was tilted up so we could see the pictures okay. And it was black and white too. We didn't have color monitors. Now it's all color monitors, so we see them in beautiful color.
Speaking of changing colors, does Zippy have to be restored every few years with new fabrics?
Yes, indeed. Good question, Andy. Yeah, basically he's toweling, and I've got an old Zippy from the 70s, and his toweling, in fact it was dyed to get this sort of color. So and then the studios do get quite dusty, even though they know the stage manager is always trying to clean all the tops, but the puppets do get a bit dirty. And so we used to get, I think it was every second series we got a new Zippy. George was less likely to get so dirty, and so there wasn't so many of George's made, but Zippys there was quite a few. And sadly, I mean, I didn't realize this, but they used to put the old ones, well, they kept one for the rehearsal. So we always rehearsed with an old Zippy in the rehearsal rooms because we had a couple of days rehearsal. And then we go into the studio, and then out come the nice, clean one. And I wasn't allowed to get it dirty. I had to make sure that it was kept clean, which obviously I did my best. And so, yes, every 2 series, we'd have a new one made to keep them, looking fresh. And that's so absolutely right. We did, and there was no way we could put them in a sort of, dry cleaning thing because the head's polystyrene would all go peculiar or something. Oh. And so I did sometimes try and sponge down with, cleaner. I think I used shaving cream or something if there was a horrible mark on the front.
All right.
That, and that sometimes, got rid of a little bit of dirt. And of course, when you've got a new one, you have to sort of work in the mouth a bit because it was always a bit stiff and, hard. But there you are. But but that's it did happen. And I mean, our original producer, Pamela Lonsdale, she always used to say, you know, they've got to look pristine every time, you know, sort of thing. She was quite right. And, you know, she was there. I mean, Thames was quite happy to pay for another, a puppeteer to make the Zippies and Georges when necessary. Yeah. There you are.
I'm built to last.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, so a technical question, which the full story is in the book. How is it the Tetra Films era of Rainbow Light compared to Thames Television after they stopped producing the series?
Yeah, that's an interesting question again. We'll see when Thames lost its franchise in 1992, the head of children's then, a man called Alan Horrocks, had set up this company called Tetra Films, and he'd brought the brand, as it were, the Rainbow brand, and decided to do his own version of Rainbow, which was originally called Rainbow Days, and then it reverted back to Rainbow as a title. But what was interesting there was that caused a little bit of concern to people, because he didn't want to have a presenter, so they didn't need Geoffrey, and they didn't need. They had a different bungle. They didn't use the same bungle. I don't know why they didn't. You know, there was slightly different Zippies and Georges as well. Actually, Zippy had eyes that slightly moved. You know, they did a sort of spinning thing. To be honest, I wasn't very happy with those puppets. I much preferred the old Zippy. But anyway, there you are. And I was the only one out of the Rainbow cast, the old cast, to be employed. I went along to audition. And I mean, it seems daft, but I'd been doing the voice of Zippy for a while in opening fates and things, because sometimes Roy Skelton, who was the voice man for a long time, he's had a young family, and he lived in Brighton, and he didn't want to come up to London or wherever it was, the fate or the thing we were doing. And also it was very difficult to get the voice. You know, they'd have to have a special microphone, and it had to sound as though it's coming from the puppets. You know, those outside things are much trickier. Whereas with me, I could just go, oh, hello, you know, and I did all my, you know, loudness. And of course, knowing the character so well and moving him for years, it was, you know, something that I did, you know, without thinking really too much. Anyway, getting back to Tetra, I mean, I think it was Alan's idea, I suppose, and the producer at the time said, well, we're just going to have puppets. We're just going to have Bungle, George and Zippy, because that was part of the brand they could use. I think if they used another actor, it would cost them more money. I'm sorry, it was all about the money. And and we had another puppet it was a rabbit called Cleo, and it was basically Rainbow Days was all about George, Bungle and Zippy running a shop, and they were selling toys and stuff, and Cleo, this blue rabbit, would come in as a sort of and buy stuff, and that was the sort of premise of the sort of group. And there was things that happened, you know, Zippy wouldn't get up in the morning or something and do something. I really can't remember all the different stuff, and then it you know, it was vaguely successful. We made in those days it was VHSs, but I think there was 2 series of that particular program. Okay. It did cause a bit of consternation, obviously, with Geoffrey and Roy and people, because, you know, why weren't they asked? Ronnie was up. And I think Geoffrey at one time used to say to me, because we were doing, sometimes doing these student union gigs. And I remember Malcolm telling me, he said, Ronnie, you know, be careful. Geoffrey's a little bit cross with you. You know, why are you doing the new Rainbow, none of us? So I immediately went up to Geoffrey and said, look, the whole story was that I was asked to audition for the part. So I got it. And there was about 5 other people there, you know, doing it. And I bet, you know, they were equally good puppeteers. But I suppose once I was up there, they thought, oh, well, he's so used to the characters, blah, blah. You know, I suppose that was it. Anyway, that was it. Anyway, Geoffrey was really, really nice afterwards. I mean, I think he just didn't know the full story. Yeah. So that was the thing. Anyway, yeah, we did this Rainbow Days. And then we went back to Rainbow in the Rainbow House. It was a slightly different setup. And we had an actor called Dale Somerville who came in. And basically, he was like a presenter. And he was a lovely guy, actually. Or is a lovely guy, and he played the guitar and sang. So we sang songs. George and Zippy did their sort of little skits in the window. We brought the window back, and that framed them, so they were doing silly nonsense things. And then I don't know. I don't know whether it wasn't recommissioned after. I can't remember when we stopped it. About 1976. I might have got the times wrong, but and that was that. So that it was basically. I hope I'm answering the question. Rainbow Night 1 Thames Television stopped. Yes, that's right. So basically, Tetra, Alan Horrocks took over the brand and made those series of programs, and we Thames still owned the brand. I mean, it's weird. They still own the sort of, as they call it, the brand. It's sort of but there you go. I hope that's answered your question, Jordan.
A very big fan here, Mr. Tommy Gunn. Were there many off-air arguments between Zippy and Bungle? I guess.
Oh, yes, there was. No, actually, it was hilarious, actually, because it was so funny. Zippy, like, he'd put up with Bungle. But actually, we got on terribly well. I mean, as an actor, Stanley, and even Malcolm and I knew each other for long before we started Rainbow. We'd worked together as puppeteers on, with another company. But anyway, no, we used to have jokes because Zippy used to think Bungle was such an idiot, Bungle, bungling all the time. But no, there wasn't. I mean, there wasn't really. I mean, there was more arguments actually in the program. Zippy was always saying, "Oh, Bungle," Bungle bonks, and all that sort of stuff. And of course, Bungle used to get so tired of it, would zip him up because he was, too rude and all the rest of it. I mean, there wasn't anything that Zippy didn't know. I mean, he's total know-all, total show. I mean, that's his character. So, and I'm, of course, a shy person anyway. But but no, that's it. We didn't really we're all mates. I think why the program lasted so long was the fact that as a group of people working together, we all gelled. We'd do the work, and then we'd have a break in the summer, and then we'd come back again. It's a bit like a school term. We'd come back to the next term and do the next series. It was unbelievable the way we never had retainers or anything. We just did the next. No, I mean, I think the BBC occasionally had retainers for their artists, but not for us. We just rather hoped. I mean, what they used to say at the end of the series, they'd say, "Now, would you like to come back and do the next series?" And so we'd say, "Oh yes, thank you very much." Because I mean, basically, it was a wonderful job. I know as puppeteers, we're not paid huge amounts of money, and suddenly with the telly, it was, a much bigger wage than I'd ever earned before, and I was, able to. Eventually get a mortgage on a house and get driving lessons, drive a car.
Oh, nice.
All those sort of things. So no, it was wonderful, wonderful. There you are. I hope that's answered your question, Mr. Tommy.
Yes, Chris. I've got now on your IMDb credits. You have a film out this year.
Ah, right.
I haven't seen it yet. It hasn't come out.
Well, this is nothing to do with Rainbow, but there's a film out which came out on the 28th of June, and it's called A Quiet Place, Day 1. Now, I'm going to show you a picture. That is the puppet in the film. It's a little boy puppet. Can you see that? All right. Sorry, I printed it off my...
No, I can make it bigger.
There it is. Oh, that's lovely. There you are. And you see he's got a balloon in his hand there. And basically... And there's a rubber tube, if I can do it right, going up there. And what the story was, I was asked as a puppeteer to be in this film. I was working at the Norwich Puppet Theatre, as a puppet theatre in Norwich. And they said, "Could you come to London for an audition or chat to the director?" And I said, "Sorry, no, I'm doing a Christmas season. Could I do it on Zoom?" And they said, "Oh, yes, that's fine." I thought, I'm cheeky, but it was fine. Anyway, I suddenly realised I had no puppets to show them because I was in my digs. But anyway, the director, really nice guy, called, and I always forget people's names, Michael Sonosky, his name is. And basically, he chatted to me and said, "Look, we need this older puppeteer." And I said, "Well, you've got one here." And we've seen that you can do marionettes because, again, people have seen that. I started off with marionette string puppets. And he said, "We'd like, a puppet made and do a little act." And we've seen an act that they've seen on YouTube, which is a clown blowing up a balloon. And basically, it blows up a balloon, it floats around, and then the balloon pops, and the poor old clown falls on the floor. Well, I said, I'd rather not do it with a clown, because it's like just nicking the idea from. Could we do it with a schoolboy? And I knew a puppet maker, lovely Peter O'Rourke, and he makes the most wonderful marionettes. In fact, he does wonderful shows. He's done shows for the Little Angel and other companies too. He's a brilliant maker. Anyway, I got him involved because they didn't really know much about the puppet scene in this country, but I was able to assist a little bit on that. And we had the designer chat to the designer, and as I say, Peter designed this lovely figure. There he is. So and he was, and we got somebody to do the costume, which was really sweet. The one, it doesn't show on the picture, but I wanted one sock down and one sock up on the thing, like, you know, little schoolboy. Anyway, the act was that I came in. I was supposed to be in New York, in Manhattan, in a old Chinese theatre, and I walked on stage with this puppet, and I did the act. And now the rubber tube business is, I put that in my mouth. I took him out of a suitcase, and I put that in my mouth, and I was blowing while I was the balloon, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. I was exhausted. No, I wasn't, but I, you know, got the balloon big, and then it just took off. And it was, I must admit, you know, when you do your own work, you don't always like, you know, how they've done it, but I'm really pleased with the little sequence they filmed. They did it on Steadicam, so the camera was behind the puppet, sometimes was in front. We had an audience. They filmed the audience first. I did the act, and they got lovely reactions of the kids. And anyway, it was a lovely piece, but how strange to be in what I would call a psychological drama horror picture, basically. And it's got, it's the prequel in a way to the two that have come out a few years ago. I luckily got those on DVD and had a look at the film, so I sort of vaguely knew. I mean, it's all about strange creatures coming into, taking over New York at this stage, and they if you make a sound, they grab hold of you and they can eat you up or whatever. But if you keep quiet, then hence the quiet place. You know, that's the quietness in the title. And the actress who was, I mean, there's two main actors. There's Lupita Nyong'o, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and lovely Joseph Quinn, who was an English actor. And they were the main actors, and they were absolutely lovely. But there wasn't a big cast, and there wasn't an awful lot of dialogue, you know, because of the whole thing of, and they were doing it, and it's beautifully shot. And I mean, I was honoured. I felt really happy to be in it. And what's very nice is there's the credits go up, and you've got the main, and then about fourth credit was Ronnie LeDrew, and I was called, wait a minute, I should remember my name. I was not Ryan Munro. I was something Munro.
Oh, I've got it here. Marvin Monroe.
Marvin, thank you very much. Oh, you are good. Marvin Munro and Ronnie LeDrew, Puppeteer. And actually, Peter O'Rourke got a credit too, a bit further down, because there's masses of people involved in putting a film together.
Yeah.
And he got a credit as puppet maker, which I was really pleased. But I did see the cast and crew showing. They had a showing in London, and it was all on the IMAX, can you believe it? And it's like, ooh, a big screen, you know, and suddenly there was this huge Ronnie LeDrew walking on with a marionette, you know. But no, I was thrilled to be involved in that. Lovely, you know, really nice. So yes, I do other stuff other than Rainbow.
Well, yeah, because you remind me of the Babe.
Ah, lovely, thank you.
Yeah, yes, well, stories about the goblins.
Has any stories? Well, I can. Well, there's a few in the book.
Yes.
Oh, look at that! Lovely. You've got
nice
the DVD. Oh,
VHS.
How
widescreen.
Yeah, marvelous. Well, yes. I mean, that was so lovely. Basically, it was a summer. I can't remember. Is it 35 years ago or something?
Something like that. Now, isn't it?
Something like that. I'm hopeless again at the years. I'm just looking for another puppet. Anyway, what happened was we got note that Jim, of course, had been around in the country. He'd been doing the Muppet Show and stuff. And he'd made Dark Crystal, the original film, and he'd made a couple of Muppet movies. I think he'd made two. Anyway, and then, you know, he'd got the Labyrinth sort of underway at Elstree. And he needed, well, originally he had about 20 puppeteers to do the goblins in this, you know, in the scene with all the goblins, and there was lots of battles and stuff like that. And basically, he thought there's there's too much. There's a lot of space on the screen. We need more puppeteers. So he got in touch with the Puppet Centre and various organisations, the Puppet Guild and all the rest of it. And we all went along as puppeteers. And basically you had to audition for him, obviously, because there was a lot of people involved, and he didn't want somebody who couldn't work a puppet or two. Anyway, so we went along, and he said, you can either do a 5-minute little act, or you can do a little bit of improv. Well, I thought I could never do a 5-minute act in front of Jim Henson and all that lot, And believe it or not, I'd very rarely auditioned. It was a new thing for me. I know it sounds daft. I mean, every actor in the world has to audition for their piece, but with puppeteers, or with me and some other puppeteers, we would get known because it's a fairly small world, and they say, oh, can you come and work with us now? It was, I think, being based at the Little Angel, it was a great place for people to come along and chat to you after a show or something and say, look, when you finish that scene, do you think you could come and work with us? Anyway, long story short, I went along, and this was a puppet. I had a little puppet, a little beaver puppet, a little Muppet. Oh, thank you.
Oh, hi there. I'm Beaver, and he's doing my voice. Oh, my goodness. I'm going to mask him. That's better. Anyway, am I looking into camera? I can't. He's got to look to see the camera. Anyway, this is me.
And basically what he did get back into shot. He did a thing where he sort of got himself, I'm just getting ready. And can you believe it? I did this terrible American accent to Americans. I don't know why I did that, but I just felt that he was a sort of beaver, and he would talk a bit like that. Anyway, so here he goes, and he goes, and he, cleans himself really nicely. And then he does his back. Ooh, that's it, lovely. And I sort of did nonsense like that. And of course they said, well, don't call us, we'll call you. And I sort of went out of the building. It was an old church hall in Hampstead. And I remember screaming down the street, like just because of the nerves and everything. It was weird. Anyway, I was very lucky. I mean, no emails in those days, but I got a phone call from the company saying, we'd like to use you for, the film, the bits of the goblins and stuff. So I did a very big goblin and he was holding it was like a bell. And he's sort of in shot every now and again. And in the song with David Bowie, of course, singing, with throwing the baby up in the air. I mean, that took about a week to do because there was so much stuff going on. I mean, there is a making of, I think, on YouTube, but you can see, and the camera pulls back, and you can see all of us putting puppets through holes in plaster and stuff. I mean, it wasn't exactly, glamorous, but the film itself, proved to be an absolute. Well, it's a cult film now, isn't it? But when it first came out, it was very, it didn't really do very well. And I think Jim was very disappointed. But then it came out on VHS and people started to buy it. And now it's become total cult. I mean, you have sing-alongs with the songs. And I mean, it's shown quite regularly. We've had a convention, a Labyrinth convention. I think it's Comic-Con type thing. Yes. And we did a weekend, I think it was last year, where we actually went to the place where they filmed the bit of the Jennifer Connelly, going over the little bridge. It was a lovely place in the country, West Wickham or somewhere like that. Lovely. Right. And that's where they filmed that sequence anyway. And so we were there in signing autographs, and then the wonderful Brian Froud and Wendy and lots of extra puppeteers, additional puppeteers. Toby was there as well, which was lovely, who was the baby in the film. Now he's coming up to 40. Anyway, but it was really, really lovely. A great time. They had a ball, in the evening or what. It was a whole weekend. And so people dressed up like the ballroom scene. In the
nice.
Film. It was great. It was fabulous working with Bowie. I mean, there was one lunchtime, and I do say it in the book, where we were allowed to take pictures. I'm going to do a quick thing from the book because it just shows you me on the throne of thing. But as I say, if you can get hold of the book, you'll get these pictures better than I'm showing them to you now. But if I put that, you can see that it's a bit. That's me. I was bearded in those days. And there's another one there. There's me sitting on the throne with another one of the goblins. And that was Jared's throne. And so what was lovely was we were one lunchtime. In those days, you didn't sign NDAs or whatever it was to say, you can't, you know,
Don't
can't take photographs. And so we were taking pictures with our Instamatic cameras. I mean, it's hilarious. And so they, basically we were taking them. That's where those pictures were taken of me, and we were doing other mates as well. Suddenly David walked into the, you know, normally we're out the way where additional puppeteers were behind plaster. And he came up to us and said, "You all right, lads? You all right?" You know, and we just went, and I just went, and I couldn't speak. I thought, he's talking to us. Anyway, and I think Nigel was there. I mentioned him earlier. And he said, "Yes, we're fine, thanks." And he said, "You're doing a great job," or something like that. I don't know why I'm making his voice like that. But anyway, so, and it was really lovely. Of course, all we could say was, "Well, it's lovely working with him." And he was absolutely lovely. There was no starriness about him at all. He was, you know, one of the lads. And I know other people have said that, you know, he did like a cigarette or three, and he used to go out and have a smoke, and people used to see him out, and he'd chat to you if he was having a fag outside the studio, you know, doors and stuff. But it was lovely. We did lots of battle scenes. That was lovely. There was an amazing set called the Goblin Village, where all these lovely riders would ride down, and we were poking goblins outside the houses, and that was immense. That was like 2 stages, and we used that as the wrap party when we finished the film. Right. We all sat, you know, it was lovely. Gosh, I'm trying to think. We did the last song in the house when Jennifer, you know, the puppets in drawers and stuff. I'm trying to remember all the bits, but we had I mean, it was my first big film, I suppose. I've done a few bits on other films, but not as more as a props person, you know, giving a set sort of decorator or something like that with puppets, you know. But this was, we were, you know, employed to be puppeteers. I mean, Jim was amazing, gentleman, absolute gentleman, and never shouted, never seemed to lose his temper. The Americans were great. They were quite funny. We always there was the English contingency and the American contingency, and we sort of kept it. We were a bit in awe of the Americans, and the Americans would see us at lunchtime. We would all queue up for a canteen, and they sort of say, you know, you don't sell yourselves enough. You know, you're very quiet. You're so quiet. And we'd say, no, well, you know, we're British. We don't like and all this sort of stuff. But no, we got on. We made friends, you know, a lot. In fact, I mean, Labyrinth, then there was other films after that. So it was lovely, you know, Little Shop of Horrors and Muppet Christmas Carol and Muppet Treasure Island and blah, 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 you know, lots of stuff. But I hope that answers your question, Ian. I hope so.
Yeah. Because I was going to ask about Little Shop of Horrors, because you did a big plant, but one part of it, isn't it?
I did indeed. I was, there was there were vines at the bottom. There was the big plant. I mean, there were several size plants, but the big plant for the big numbers was there. And I was some of the vines at the bottom. You've got the big plant itself doing all the singing, and then you've got the sort of leaves doing stuff or whatever. And then there were these sort of vines around the floor. And basically how we worked them, they were on a bit like signals, you know, the signals in railway stations. Yeah. So we had these pillars, and we were we were underneath. It was originally a model, a pool for model shots in films. We did it in Pinewood, so it was built a long time. But there was obviously no water under there, and we were there with monitors and stuff. And the actual shop was built above us, and all the wires and all the bits were sort of threaded through the plant. You never saw that, of course. It was just the plant doing its thing. So I did that, but you very sweetly showed a sequence that I did on Little Shop at the beginning of this podcast, where you see the plant dialing. It's right at the end of the film, and you see the first of all the one of the vines puts the 10 cents into the phone or whatever, and then you see a vine coming up dialing, and that was me. I was so happy. I did my little bit of doing that. I know we're always terribly grateful if we get a bit more of a close-up, you know, and that was really very nice. And I also did Mushnik's legs kicking. If you remember, there's the scene Mushnik has got his back to the plant, and Rick is saying, "Oh, Mr. Mushnick, do be," and he's got a sort of gun or something. As far as I remember, I can't remember. And he walks back to the plant, and he turns around. This is Mushnick, and you see, and then they cut to Rick, and then the next minute he goes, and then you see his leg. You just imagine that he's falling into the plant, and the plant is it. And there was these sort of metal things and I kicked, and the legs kicked, and then somebody else was pulling them into the plant. Very clever, wonderful. Lyle Conway was the man who designed and made, with a whole team of people, the plant, and it was marvelous. There was little ones and big ones, and some as big as your head. No, but I mean, they really were lovely. And Frank Oz was just a delight to work with. I mean, there were days when he played, table tennis with us in the lunch hour and stuff like that. What's Frank like to work? Yes. How funny. Well, he was fabulous. He is different, as a director than as a puppeteer. Obviously, he understood the puppeteer's difficulties, and because he was and still is, a brilliant puppeteer. So, but he also has the eye for being a director, and he had to make sure. Right. So there was a little distance. He was obviously generating the moving the film along, and he's absolutely delightful. I mean, he's an absolute professional. If the shots aren't right, we do it again, and we do it again until it's absolutely right. And fair enough, we did do loads of takes and things to get it, because if you've got, I don't know, I think at one point there might have been more than 30 puppeteers doing this.
I was going to ask how many people did the big plan all in one go.
Absolutely. And so to get that absolutely right, and I don't know whether people know, but when we actually did the filming with the plant singing, they slowed down the voice of the plant's voice. So he could, feed me. It was more that sort of thing. And then when they obviously played the film in reality, that's why the lip sync is so absolutely spot on. And when Rick was in the shot with the plant, he had to move a lot slower because the frames weren't as fast as normal. Absolutely brilliant, really. Yeah. And that, I mean, I loved it. I just loved the whole film. I loved the three girls, the chorus. They were brilliant. Yes. And and it was filmed in Pinewood. And I had this thing, I thought, oh my God, Pinewood, the home of Bond, the home of the Carry On films. There was so much history, and I love the history of film anyway. So so it was lovely. And I remember walking down one lunch, and there's a sort of not a tunnel, but a sort of a walkway. And I was walking with a friend. We were just chatting, and suddenly walking up to us was Joan Collins and people like that, big. And I thought, oh my God, it's Joan Collins. But that was fun, and there was. It was just delight. And then when we went on to do other Muppet movies, I mean, we worked at Shepperton, and that's another iconic studios.
Yes.
And we, sorry.
No, I was going to. It's one of my questions was you've done Elstree, Pinewood, and then Elstree, Shepperton, Pinewood.
Absolutely, and also Ealing. Can you believe Ealing? I know it was, and Ealing, of course, Ealing comedies of the 40s and 50s and stuff. I mean, wonderful. And of course, it's owned by the BBC now, I think, but or it might be independent by now. But anyway, that was fun. So I was terribly lucky to suddenly get a chance to work with all these in these studios. And I've done. I mean, coming up to date, just talk about films because it's been in the last few years. I've been very lucky. I've worked with Disney on Beauty and the Beast, which was the live action remake of the cartoon. And what they wanted a marionette, a puppet, to replicate some of the movement of Lumiere, the candlestick singer. So, and I was asked, it was really nice to work the marionette. So, and I did scenes there. I mean, it wasn't a long job, but it was really nice to come in and do the odd scene, be my guest number. I was there, and there was a bit where he pours in the film, he pours the tablecloth and all the food is going on at the end. I mean, it's a lovely scene. Well, I was actually doing the marionette for them to sort of see what it was like. We had candles put up on his head, and we took the hands off and had candlesticks there, and I had sort of wires going up, and there was a lighting man doing the flicking. So they got the idea of you know, I know it was all CGI'd in the end, but they got an idea of where the shadow should be when the, you know, the arms moving. It was great. But that job led me on to the next Disney film, which was very nice. The same production manager over here suddenly phoned me up, or emailed me, I think then, and said, would you like to be in the next Disney? We're making a version of Pinocchio. So I went, oh, well, you know, classic puppet thing. And it's a live action one again. And we can't tell you any details, but would you say yes? You know, that sort of terribly. And I went, ah. Anyway, I did say yes, because I was free at the time. This was only about 4 years ago. I don't know, not that long ago. And the actor, of course, was Tom Hanks playing Geppetto. I mean, you know, you can't get better than that. And so I went along, and I was involved. I think I did about 4 months work on it. I mean, it was fabulous, because I was there pre-production to talk about the making of the puppet, because they wanted to use a real puppet, obviously, at the beginning, and then it moved on to CGI afterwards. So all the workshop scenes, there was a real puppet. And so they had that made actually in America, New York or somewhere. But it was brought over eventually, and I went in and I strung it and said, oh, the joints are a bit here. Can we do a bit of this and do a bit of that to get it? And of course, it was an exact copy of the Disney cartoon, as you've seen. And another thing they did, they decided that there wasn't enough females in the Pinocchio story. So if you remember, there's Mr. Bandinelli, the Italian puppet master. There's a scene when Pinocchio joins this puppet troupe. And in the troupe, they had an ex-ballerina, a young girl, and she had hurt herself. And so she'd got, I think she'd got something around her leg. She couldn't walk. She couldn't dance anymore. And so she was doing puppets. And I had to train the actress to work the puppet, because they felt, even though that most of it was going to be CGI'd, if she didn't look as though she could do it, then it wouldn't look right. And they're quite right. And it was Bob Zemeckis, you know, the fabulous director who directed. I mean, he's directed loads of Tom Hanks films. They were mates, so it was wonderful. And he did Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which had wonderful puppet sequences in. I mean, again, for the CGI things, but very clever. Yeah. And so, I had a ball on that film. It was lovely. And they, in fact, used me as Tom Hanks's double. I can't show you the picture, I'm afraid. I didn't print those off. I'm a bit bad, really. And it's me with Tom Hanks's Geppetto costume on. And so I would do, when he took the puppet down from the workshop, when he'd just finished making it, and he put it down to have a little test, they'd cut to the hands and I had the exact costume on, and I was working the puppet, walking it and dancing, and he said hello to the fish, and he said hello to the cat, and all that. And then, so it was only a short sequence, but it was lovely. And Tom only had 9 days to work on the picture. So once he was there, it was a case of, getting on with it. And they did all his scenes. And it was shortly after COVID, or COVID was still around. So we had all the COVID restrictions as well, which was quite tricky. But we managed it. We did it. And as I say, it was lovely to do. And he was a joy. I mean, he would call me if he had a bit where he had to do a bit of the puppet. It was just sitting on the bench. And he did it once in rehearsal. And it was lovely. He made the head turn around to look at the fish or the cat or something. Right. And then, of course, camera's rolling. And he didn't do it right. Ronnie! Oh, blah, blah, blah. It was so lovely. I'd come rushing up to move out of the way. I'm talking to Mr. Hanks. And it was a sort of, it was just, well, if you do that and that, then you can do it. So he was an absolute joy. I wished in a way that it had gone out in the cinema. I'm afraid it was over Disney Plus, so you'd have to get Disney Plus to look at it. It was a weird time because there was, I think, 3 versions of Pinocchio that came out. Oh yes. There was the Netflix one with Tom. Then there was this wonderful stop frame animation one. I've forgotten his name. Who did the Labyrinth? What's it called? Something Labyrinth. Yes. Do you know how? Anyway, I'm sorry. I can't think of his name. And then I think there was another one, and I mean the Pinocchio that he did, the stop animation one, did win lots of acclaim. And I'm afraid the Disney one, I think it's very hard. When people adore a cartoon, and it was a beautiful cartoon, the Pinocchio one. I mean, it was done with the old nothing digital. You know, it was done before all that. Thank you very much, Lero del Toro. That's it. Thank
Pan's
you.
Labyrinth.
Thank you very much. Yes, Pan's Labyrinth was the one. Thank you, people. I'm sorry about that. It's called a senior.
No, I forgot as well.
But anyway, no, it was you know, it was difficult to do I think to make I think same with Beauty and the Beast in a way. I don't think it was quite as good as the original cartoon, but the Disney have got a big thing. I think they're just bringing out Snow White. I can't imagine what they're going to do with that. Anyway, there you go. That's their, you know, that's what they like to do. So that's what they're doing.
So yes, there's the link for the book again, because
thank you, people.
Ian's just bought it.
Oh, Ian, thank you very much.
Blackwell's have it in
I hope
stock.
you enjoy it.
Let's have a
Blackwell's have it in stock. Brilliant.
Amazon
yes,
running
that's
out.
right. Actually, Amazon were running out. I went on the other day and I thought, oh gosh, there's not very many left. I'm glad Blackwell's got it, and I think there's a couple more other places where you can get stuff online, and they might still have it. But there you go. Yeah. Sorry, what's that lovely guy? Oh, thank you very much. I've ordered the paperback. Oh, sorry, this is Ian. Sorry.
The same one, yeah. But then there was another question. Do you know Phil Fletcher, who puppeteers Hacker the Dog on children's BBC?
I do. He's a great mate. He's absolutely lovely. He adored Rainbow, and we met, oh gosh, 15, 16 years ago, before he got on to doing Hacker. And I mean, he's a wonderful guy and a brilliant puppeteer. And in fact, he was the one who made my lovely beaver puppet, because this is a remake of the old one that I had. And in fact, Phil said to me, he said, oh goodness gracious, you can't keep showing that to people. Here, I'll make you a new one. And he sent me this, and it's beautiful. He makes the most fabulous puppets.
Yeah,
and he's brilliant with Hacker. And we both do Comic Cons now. We sometimes meet up, you know, and he's at one end and I'm at the other. And he was terrible. He said, don't go to him, go to me, you know, and all this. We have terrible, you know, sort of fights. But no, he's brilliant puppeteer. And, you know, he's been doing, I think, Hacker now for 15 years. So good luck to him. And I think, and there's another puppeteer, Warwick Brownlow Pike, who does Dodge, you know, the other dog that's on CBeebies. And he's about to, they're going to bring out a show that he's actually, I think, well, it was his idea. He imagined it. Where I think it's Dodge's puppy school or something. Anyway, it's coming out in September, and he's doing that. So that's nice. I'd like to give him a heads up, because he's just as brilliant too. So yeah.
Yeah, because how does it make you feel that puppets are still on children's television now?
Well, I'm really pleased. It's great. I mean, to be honest, people say, oh, you know, the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s were the golden age of children's telly. Well, of course, it was in a way, because there was only the 4 channels. And, you know, there was only 2 that did children. Now we've got, I don't know, all the streaming channels, all the, you know, and there's must be about 30 of them, I suppose. And some of them all doing, you know, children's work. But unfortunately, the money that the big companies had in the time that we were there, and we didn't have massive budget on Rainbow, but they don't have it these days to make the programs that they did. So they end up having, I hate to say, sort of computerized cartoon stuff most of the time. And what the kids today, they don't know what they've missed, because they haven't seen it. So they're quite happy to see what's, you know, thrown at them. And so it is a shame, but it's nice that things like, you know, I know it's a bit funny, but Blue Peter and some of the things that we've got, and some of the animal programs are still around on BBC. ITV, I don't think there's children's ITV anymore now. I think
I think that finished recently.
I think that finished, didn't it? So I mean, it's really sad. It's all about streaming now. They're all putting on. I mean, I'm very lucky. Rainbow still gets shown on YouTube, and there's loads of them, and there's lots of Facebook groups, you know, that you know, always have pictures and stories, and they, you know, they get me to say stuff every now and again. And so it's quite nice, because I'm, as you can tell, I witter on for England. So, but yes, no, it'd be lovely if people did start making, you know, I don't know, maybe this new BBC program, because that's all puppets, so they're all little puppies, puppet dogs. So that might be, you know, something. So that's good. But there's lots of now puppetry's become quite good, you know, not good, but a bit of, you know, it's got a place in the West End now in London, you know, in the theatre shows. You've got the Lion King, wonderful puppetry there. You've had the Warhorse, of course, you know, that became a total world, you know, renowned show. And then we've had the Japanese the Colosseum during the site, just finished now, but Spirited Away, which was based on the you know, the film, the Japanese film, and that was unbelievable puppetry. And that was quite expensive to go and see, but gosh, well worth seeing. And I had friends that were friends who were part of the production team, because it was all a Japanese cast. And then there was the other one at the Barbican, and I think that's coming back. So do try and see that one. Again, lovely big productions, different from television and film, but still puppets are there. You know, and also there's lots of people training nowadays. We've got the Curious School of Puppetry, which I teach on. I usually do about 3 days, and I do a lot of marionette training, because there's not that many people now that can work the string puppets. And it was run or formed by the daughter of John Wright, Sarah Wright, and I think the Curious School's been running for about 8 years or something, and I've done, you know, worked with them, with Sarah, and of course she's my goddaughter, so it's a bit sort of in-house a bit, but I mean, there you go. And also the film director Joe Wright, who's also John Wright's son, and I've worked on some of Joe's films because, again, he's my godson. So no, it's not just because of that, it's just, you know, having been involved with. And Lindy Wright, their mum, is still around, and she's wonderful and a brilliant puppet maker. And so I'm looking forward to going back to the theatre. And Lindy has a workshop, and she lives in the cottage next door. And so it's just lovely to be involved again in. I mean, I love doing telly, I love doing film, love doing anything really that involves puppetry, moving puppets around, and using, you know, having funny character voices and stuff like that. It's something I've done over 50 years. So it's you know, it's a joy to do.
That's nice. Because yes, as Ian asks, what was it like to return to the world of Jim Henson Productions with Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance on Netflix?
Oh, fabulous. Gosh, it was so nice to be asked. You know, I suddenly thought, you know what, they've got the core puppeteers, which a lot of them were British, which was wonderful. And funny enough, Warwick and Dave Chapman, they were the sort of British puppeteers who engaged English puppeteers for extra scenes and stuff like that. Right. And bless him, Warwick said, "Oh, Ronnie, you must come up." And I had to audition. It was quite interesting. We auditioned. Right. It's so funny. We did a some telly event in Sheffield, and he said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" And I said, "Oh, I'm doing nothing. I'm having a rest, darling. You know, I've been working very hard all day." And he said, "No, you're not. You're coming to audition because we've got this new Henson." And again, you weren't allowed to say anything. And we went in, and it was lovely. And they were so sweet because they knew me. I mean, Kevin Clash was one of the puppeteers, who was one of the lead puppeteers in the film, in the series. And Lisa Henson was there. I mean, it was wonderful. I mean, all these lovely people. And we did a little bit of lip sync, and they obviously said, yes, that's okay. And right. So I did quite a lot of radio controlled stuff as well. Did quite a lot of the crowd scenes when I've forgotten her name, the big witch, and she had a whole group of people all around her, and we did lots of that sort of stuff. I did one bit I really loved, and it was terribly nice. There's a podling scene. They're lovely little sort of goblin-y type creatures. They're harmless. They're really sweet. Okay. Not like the Skeksis, you know. Anyway, and there was a scene where they had in the original film where you saw a podling coming in, or the camera zoomed in, and he was dancing. You saw his legs dancing, and he was a marionette. And then they zoomed into the others. So you just imagine it was a clever thing of Jim, I think, and Frank. They thought, well, if you see legs dance, you'll just assume that they've all got legs. You know, that I think was the idea behind that. And so Louis, who is the French director, and I've forgotten his surname, but anyway, he was lovely. And he said, I want to use a puppet for that. Can we, get one made? And they did. And again, it was so lovely. Brian Froud, Wendy, and Toby were there in the workshop, you know, and they reconstructed one of the podlings to a marionette. I brought my marionette in. Oh, actually, I did an audition with my marionette. It was so funny. I had a clapperboard audition for podling. It was so funny. And I'm doing this dancing around, and they went, yes, lovely. And then originally, I think some of the Netflix people said, "Oh, we'll do that in CGI." And Louis, bless him, the director, said, "No, I'm not having any CGI. This is all real puppetry." And so they built me a sort of, not a bridge, but a platform to stand on. And I was working that, and I loved doing that bit. And Louis actually did, as well as directing. I mean, he directed all 10 episodes. Right. He had Steadicam, which is very heavy camera to wear. And he was filming, and he wanted to film my bit, which I thought was terribly sweet. You know, there's sometimes a 3-camera shot, you know, because but it was absolutely beautiful. And of course, the work, you know, the puppets are absolutely amazing. I mean, there was times when they were quite heavy to do, and people inside the Skexes had quite, a time sometimes. But I think it, you know, again, it was very popular, and sadly, Netflix, in their wisdom, after it winning an award for after it was first shown, decided not to do the next story. There was another story that they were going to do, and that's not been taken up, sadly. But there you go. That's the world of telly these days, which is very sad. But
yeah, they'll cancel anything popular.
Yeah, absolutely.
Positive.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's have a look. So yeah, does Zippy have any nemesis?
Nemesis. Oh my God. How lovely. Emu. Love it. Yes. Oh dear, are you all right? Tell that emu. But no, I mean, it's hilarious. Sorry, I should get Zippy to answer all that. Oh, I've got the little Zippy. Look, here he is, everybody. And basically, he's got legs. It's ever so funny. This was actually in the programme. And we used it for Rumpelstiltskin. And I saved it because I just thought it was such a sweet little puppet. And so Zippy's looking totally bemused behind with this tiny little one. So I'm trying to get him to look into camera. There you are. And so, hello, everybody. Oh, I'm not looking to camera. There you go. It's Zippy here from Rainbow. And do you know what? I'm looking the wrong way. See, I'm used to reverse scan.
Monitor mirror image.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you should have. Anyway, he's going to look at Zippy there. And Zippy always says, why don't, people say, why doesn't Zippy show his legs? And Zippy always says, I choose not to show them. And then, of course, this one has legs, which is lovely.
Yeah.
So there he is. So it's quite a long rod, you see. So that's why he's looking a bit straight. There you are. There's his legs. Oh, there's my legs. They're lovely, aren't they?
Oh, look at those lovely legs.
That's very nice. Oh, get it shot. That's right. There you go. I normally have rehearsal, you see, so I can see, because my eyes aren't so good.
Zippy mini.
Zippy mini me, yeah. Thanks, Ian. There you go. There he is. But I mean, I think it's been wonderful with him. I mean, he's still used. I've done about, I think, 3 appearances on The Last Leg on Channel 4 with those wonderful people. They're so nice. Josh Whitcomb. I'll tell you why Zippy appeared. It was quite funny. There was what was it? It was a live show anyway when it goes out. So, and somebody tweeted in or X'd in or whatever you call it nowadays. What Josh Whitcomb sounds like Zippy. And so the next day, the next Friday, they said, we must get Zippy. And so they phoned up and got hold of me. And I said, yes, I'll bring Zippy. And I thought, this is hilarious. And so it was just wonderful. He suddenly appeared to surprise Josh, and the audience just love all that. And they adored Zippy. I think the puppetry was a little bit awkward because I was lying on my back and it was all a bit, but it was wonderful. And then I did another one fairly recently with, now I've forgotten his surname, but Ryland, who's the guy with the beard, he was a guest on the program. And they decided that you should get married, but you should marry a gimp. So we had this guy with the leather thing and the zip. And of course, the perfect person to come on as Ryland's best man was Zippy, because, with the zip. So, and they got a pulpit for him to stay in. So I was in the pulpit and we rehearsed it. And I put the rings, I had the rings, the wedding ring, the 2 rings for the couple. And Adrian Mills, I've forgotten. Anyway, the Australian, brilliant presenter. I'm sorry about names. And he came over and he took the rings out of Zippy's mouth and said, "Oh, lovely, thank you." And then he put them on. That was my little bit. And I had another line after that. Anyway, that was the rehearsal. All went wonderful. Live showing, pop up. He takes the ring and he drops them into my, I can't do anything. I can't get them. Ryland is standing there and he, bless him, goes down and finds them, you know, and says, "I've got them." I said, "Oh, thank you so much. You saved my day," you know, and all this. So we were just improvising. And then there was a slight break, and I went, "Oh, I've got a line. I can't remember what my line is." I mean, it was all stuff like this, you know. But they love all that. They like it all to go wrong, sort of thing. But I mean, it wasn't disastrous at all. No. And they said, "Oh, could I say my line?" And I said it badly. Or so I said, "Could I say it again?" I mean, it's typical Zippy. I want to get it right, and all this. So, but that, I mean, we've had such fun. And the other thing we did fairly recently was Children in Need. Last year we did, you know, the best, what's it called, Super Cook or Best Cook, whatever it is, with the two guys. And that was daft. We had Zippy and George making ghastly sort of chocolate, some sort of sweet thing. But and Hacker and Dodge were on that too, and Basil Brush, which was nice. Yes. So we were all working together. Oh, and Mr. Blobby appeared on it. My God, you know. So
oh dear.
Yeah, I know. No, he actually, the guy that does it is lovely. He's such a sweet guy. But there you go. You know, sort of, it's a job, isn't it, for somebody?
Yeah. But you have to keep Zippy away from the cake mixture.
Oh my God, yes. In fact, I wanted to keep the puppets away because I didn't want them too stained and everything. No. So we were lucky. We did manage that a bit. So, but it, you know, people loved it. They were very nice about it. So, yeah, it's very good.
All right. Well, we'll wrap this up because it's been taking up an hour and a half of your time.
Goodness. Oh gosh, yes. I just looked at the clock. It's my bedtime.
I'll take a few things.
He's gone to sleep anyway. So
yeah,
he sleeps with his eyes open. Everybody.
So Double A says he hasn't got a question. He just like to thank you for making his childhood special.
Oh, thank you, Double A.
That's very nice. And Savoy says he really appreciates your time for this interview. So do I. And hope to get your book and check out the film. Yes.
Lovely. Do.
Place Day One.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and Ian's honoured to share a joke with Zippy. He can die happy.
Good. Thank you, Ian. It's great. Thank you.
So yes, we'll wrap this up. And Ronnie will be in Western Supermare this weekend. Unfortunately, I'm not. Typical. The one weekend I'm away.
Oh dear.
But
we'd hope to see anybody who's in Western Supermare.
Yes, and then I guess other comic places you'll be around. Are you going to any more this year?
I'm not doing any for a bit after Western Supermare because I've got this season at the Little Angel Theatre, which is a lovely kids show called Dogs Don't Do Ballet, which goes on from the 15th of September to the 13th of November. Then maybe after that, there's somebody, they're rather keen to use me now on these Comic Cons, so look out for them. But that is my last one for a bit, I think, the Western Supermare. So you'll all have to get the train like I am to get down there.
Get you on the train for an hour and a half.
That's it.
See, Fran says he's nice to chat you. He's ordering the book right now. There you go.
Oh, so, thank you very much. Lovely.
I'll pop it in the chat again if anyone's late. There we go. So there it is. Very good read.
Oh, thank you. And hopefully you can get it in other places other than Amazon as well.
Yes, you can get it online. Kindle. You can get it as a book. You can.
Yeah.
Anyway, Andy says it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Ronnie, for your time.
Oh, thank you, Andy.
Ian says he's going to come and get his book signed sometime.
Oh, do yes, contact me. Yeah, I'll gladly sign it for a fee. No, I'm joking.
Goodbye. Yes. So on that bombshell, we'll say goodbye. Thanks, Ronnie, and thanks for everyone in the chat. Everyone have a good night and a good weekend.
Thank you.